Tasha Williams walked into the towering glass building of one of the nation's most prestigious tech companies with a heart full of hope and a mind sharpened by years of dedication and hard work. She had prepared relentlessly for this moment, knowing that this interview was a critical step toward the career she had dreamed of since her early days coding on a hand-me-down laptop in her small hometown, a place where opportunities were scarce and expectations often limited by circumstance and background. Her resume was impeccable, showcasing not only top grades from a leading university but also innovative projects that had earned accolades in competitive tech circles. And she carried herself with the quiet confidence of someone who had fought every obstacle to arrive at this moment. Yet, as she stepped into the sleek interview room, the atmosphere shifted. The panel of interviewers, a group of senior executives, appeared disengaged from the start, their eyes flickering with impatience, and their questions pointed but lacking genuine curiosity about her abilities or vision. Despite her thoughtful answers and clear demonstration of technical expertise, she sensed a barrier, an invisible wall built not from her qualifications but from assumptions about who she was, a black woman in a predominantly white male industry. The interviewers exchanged subtle glances, cutting her off before she could fully explain her innovative approach to problem solving, or how her leadership experiences in community tech initiatives uniquely positioned her to contribute fresh perspectives to the company. After what felt like an eternity of probing questions and half-hearted nods, the interview ended abruptly with vague promises of follow-up that Tasha knew in her gut would never come. Walking out of the building, the weight of rejection bore down on her, not just from the company but from a system that repeatedly overlooked talents like hers, dismissing potential in favor of comfort and conformity. Yet, beneath the disappointment burned an unyielding resolve. She refused to let this moment define her worth or dictate her future. Instead, she used it as fuel, a catalyst to sharpen her focus and deepen her commitment to proving that innovation and brilliance transcend race and gender. As she stepped back onto the busy city streets, surrounded by the hum of ambition and the rush of dreams, Tasha promised herself that this setback was merely a chapter in a much larger story, one she would write on her own terms, transforming rejection into opportunity, invisibility into influence, and doubt into undeniable success. Tasha had barely settled back into her modest apartment after the crushing rejection when her phone rang, breaking the evening's quiet with an urgency that instantly piqued her curiosity. The caller was an employee from the very company that had just dismissed her, a young software engineer named Jason who was clearly rattled and desperate for help, explaining in hurried, fragmented sentences that the company was on the brink of a disaster threatening their most ambitious product launch in years. A cutting-edge software platform meant to revolutionize the industry, but a critical flaw had emerged in the system architecture, and the internal teams were baffled, unable to pinpoint the root cause or propose a viable fix in time to meet the looming deadline that investors and stakeholders had set in stone. Knowing Tasha's background and her deep understanding of systems, designed from their brief collaboration during a community tech event, Jason took a risk, reaching out to her as a last resort, hoping that her fresh perspective might shed light on a problem that had paralyzed the company's usual experts, despite the cold shoulders she had faced just hours before. Though skeptical at first, Tasha's innate problem-solving instincts and refusal to let previous rejection deter her kicked in immediately, and she asked Jason to send her all the data, code snippets, and test results available, promising to dive in without hesitation. Hours turned into a sleepless night as Tasha pored over every piece of information, identifying inconsistencies others had missed, patterns hidden beneath layers of code complexity, and system interactions that, when viewed through her unique, analytical lens, revealed the precise source of the malfunction, a subtle but devastating incompatibility between newly integrated modules that compromised system stability and security. Armed with this breakthrough, she crafted an innovative and elegant solution that not only fixed the bug but optimized performance beyond initial expectations, integrating advanced fail-safes and redundancy measures that ensured the product could withstand unforeseen stresses, thereby restoring confidence in the launch timeline. The next morning, Jason arranged a direct virtual meeting with the CEO, explaining how Tasha's intervention had not only averted crisis but potentially saved the company millions in lost revenue and damaged reputation. The CEO, initially skeptical, given her earlier rejection, was quickly won over by the clarity and effectiveness of Tasha's presentation, impressed not only by the technical brilliance but by the poise and determination she exhibited under pressure. Recognizing that this was a rare talent they could no longer afford to overlook, he extended an invitation for Tasha to collaborate directly with the company's innovation team, opening doors that had previously been slammed shut and setting the stage for a remarkable reversal of fortunes, transforming a moment of personal disappointment into an unprecedented opportunity to demonstrate her true value and redefine her place within the tech world. Through this pivotal intervention, Tasha began to rewrite her story from outsider to indispensable problem solver, proving that sometimes the greatest breakthroughs come from unexpected places, and that perseverance paired with brilliance can break down even the most entrenched barriers, igniting hope for those who dare to keep pushing beyond rejection toward triumph. Tasha's unexpected success in solving the company's critical problem quickly became the talk of the executive suite, and within days, the CEO personally invited her to present her comprehensive solution and strategic insights directly to the entire leadership team, a rare honor typically reserved for long-standing insiders, yet one that reflected the undeniable impact of her work and the urgent need for fresh perspectives in a company struggling to innovate beyond its traditional frameworks, standing before a room filled with skeptical senior executives, many of whom initially questioned the wisdom of elevating someone who had just been rejected for a position. Tasha remained composed and confident, carefully articulating how her approach not only fixed the immediate technical flaws but also introduced a paradigm shift in how the company could integrate cross-functional teams, streamline development processes, and foster a culture of agile innovation that would keep them ahead in an increasingly competitive market. Blending her deep technical knowledge with a visionary understanding of leadership and collaboration that captivated even the most resistant board members, despite subtle undercurrents of doubt and the challenges inherent in breaking through long-standing biases. Her eloquence and data-driven presentation gradually dismantled barriers, earning nods of approval and sparking dynamic discussions that led to the unanimous endorsement of her recommendations. As a result, the CEO appointed her to lead a new division dedicated to innovation and strategic growth, a groundbreaking position that shattered the glass ceiling that had long prevented diverse talents like Tasha from ascending to roles of true influence, signaling a transformative shift within the company's culture and leadership. With her team now empowered to implement bold new ideas, Tasha spearheaded initiatives that redefined product development cycles, emphasized inclusivity in hiring and decision-making, and leveraged emerging technologies to create competitive advantages, positioning the company not just to recover from its crisis but to set new industry standards. Her journey from interview rejection to visionary leader resonated throughout the corporate world, inspiring other organizations to reevaluate their own practices and recognize the immense value of untapped talent. While internally, she mentored younger employees, championing diversity and creating pathways for others to follow in her footsteps. Through relentless dedication, strategic brilliance, and unwavering resilience, Tasha transformed not only her own destiny but the future of an entire company, proving that true leadership is earned through action and vision rather than traditional pedigree, and that when opportunity meets preparation, barriers crumble, innovation flourishes, and the impossible becomes possible. As Tasha officially stepped into her new role as the head of the Innovation and Strategic Growth Division, a title that had never before been held by someone who looked like her in the company's century-long history, the weight of responsibility pressed against the thrill of achievement. For she knew this wasn't just a personal victory, it was a turning point for those who came behind her, those whose resumes were tossed aside for having the wrong name, whose ideas were dismissed before they were spoken, whose potential had been buried under systemic assumptions and old-guard comfort zones that feared disruption. And so, while others might have been content to settle into a corner office and enjoy the perks of power, Tasha took it upon herself to become the very change agent she once prayed someone else would be, beginning her leadership not with announcements of status but with a series of closed-door listening sessions, inviting junior staff, overlooked engineers, underrepresented voices from every department to speak freely about the barriers they faced, the opportunities they craved, and the future they dared to imagine if only someone believed in them. And she listened, really listened, to every voice, taking pages of notes, identifying patterns of inequity that had long gone unspoken, and building a grassroots blueprint for transformation that could be scaled across departments, all while still leading product innovations that were pushing the company into new global markets and shattering revenue records. Under her leadership, Tasha launched the Vision Forward initiative, a bold restructuring that eliminated siloed hierarchies, introduced blind hiring processes, created a mentorship network that paired young diverse talents with senior executives, and offered equity-sharing opportunities for contributors at every level. And though she faced resistance from traditionalists who claimed she was moving too fast or being too focused on inclusion, she countered with irrefutable data proof that teams under her guidance were not only outperforming expectations but also attracting top talent, driving unprecedented innovation, and renewing the company's public image as a model of modern leadership. Beyond the boardroom, Tasha became a sought-after speaker and thought leader, delivering keynote speeches that combined the raw truth of her journey with actionable strategies for dismantling systemic barriers in tech and corporate America. Her words rippling across industries, inspiring policy changes, university curriculum reform, and venture capital shifts toward inclusive investing. She never forgot where she came from, hosting free community coding workshops in underserved neighborhoods, quietly funding scholarships for young black girls interested in STEM, and returning to her old university to guest lecture, often slipping into the back row of classrooms to watch young students' eyes light up when they realized they, too, could rewrite their narrative. And perhaps her most lasting legacy came when she was named CEO of the entire company 5 years later. A historic appointment that marked not just a personal triumph but a full-circle moment. A woman once denied a simple interview opportunity, now sat at the helm, not out of symbolism but because no one else matched her vision, her capability, or her results. During her first company-wide address as CEO, she stood in the same auditorium where years before she'd sat invisible, and said simply, "I wasn't what they expected, but I became what they needed," and the standing ovation that followed. It wasn't just for the journey she took but for the door she had kicked open so others could walk through with their heads high, hearts steady, and dreams no longer delayed. In Tasha's story, millions saw themselves, and in her leadership, they saw proof that when talent meets resilience, and justice meets opportunity, the future becomes something we shape, not something we wait for.